Here's a suspense-filled story for your channel. Hello, friends. My name is Ryan, and I'm about to tell you an amazing story. It's filled with twists, turns, and a mystery that will keep you on the edge of your seat. The story I'm about to share with you is about one of America's most infamous criminals, someone who eluded the police for years. His story is chilling, and as we dive deeper into it, you'll understand why he's remembered as the Green River Killer. So, sit back, relax, and let me take you on this dark and twisted journey. Once upon a time, in a city that should have been peaceful and serene, a shadow lurked in the background, invisible to those who walked the streets. But this shadow was no ordinary one. It was the shadow of a killer, a man whose actions would forever change the lives of the people in his community and the way the world saw criminal justice. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, the residents of Seattle, Washington, went about their daily lives, unaware that something horrible was about to unfold. There were whispers in the streets, stories shared over coffee and drinks, but no one had any concrete proof. That was until the bodies started appearing. They began to show up in the strangest of places, scattered along the Green River. At first, it seemed like an isolated incident, just another tragic tale. But as the bodies continued to pile up, all with eerily similar characteristics, it became clear this was the work of someone methodical, someone who knew exactly what they were doing. The media, desperate for answers, dubbed the killer the Green River Killer, after the river that ran through the area where many of the bodies were discovered. It seemed as though he was taunting the police, leaving behind nothing but a trail of clues that never seemed to lead to anything concrete. The investigators were frustrated. The community was terrified. The killer was always one step ahead. But who was he? What drove him to commit such heinous acts? The answers seemed to be locked in a box, one that was impossible to open. People speculated. They made guesses. Some pointed fingers at the loners in town, while others blamed the growing troubles in the city. But nobody really knew who the killer was. The police were left chasing shadows, unsure of where to look next. And then, one day, a breakthrough came. A suspect emerged from the sea of uncertainty. Gary Ridgway, a local man with a quiet demeanor, had been arrested for something unrelated. But when the police dug deeper into his background, something started to look suspicious. Ridgway had been living in the area for years, and although he didn't stand out as a particularly dangerous man, his history raised eyebrows. It was a case of missing pieces finally falling into place. The investigation into Ridgway began, and soon they uncovered more than anyone had anticipated. He had been married twice, had children, and worked as a truck painter. But under the surface, there was a darker side, a side that he kept hidden. It turned out Ridgway was not only connected to the Green River murders, but he was the killer himself. As investigators dug deeper into Ridgway's life, they learned that he had been driven by a twisted desire to kill. His first murder was seemingly random, but as time went on, Ridgway's obsession grew. He picked up women, many of whom were prostitutes, and lured them to secluded areas where he would strangle them to death. His methods were brutal, but what was truly chilling was the fact that he seemed to enjoy the hunt, the chase, and the act of taking life. The police had been hunting for this killer for decades, but Gary Ridgway was a master of evasion. He knew how to stay out of the spotlight, how to blend in with the crowd. And for years, he fooled everyone. He even managed to convince some people that he was innocent, playing the part of a concerned citizen who cared about his community. But nothing stays hidden forever. In 2001, after years of painstaking investigation, Ridgway was finally arrested and charged with the murders of 49 women, though he later confessed to killing as many as 71. The Green River Killer, whose name had haunted the city for so long, was finally unmasked. But even with the killer in custody, the impact of his crimes lingered. The families of the victims were left to pick up the pieces, trying to make sense of the senseless violence that had torn their lives apart. The case served as a grim reminder of how evil can hide in plain sight, and how difficult it can be to recognize the true face of danger. What's even more haunting is the fact that Ridgway was never caught during his killing spree because he was so meticulous, so calculated. His reign of terror lasted for over 2 decades, and though many believed they had solved the mystery, Ridgway was always ahead of the investigators. He knew exactly how to avoid detection, how to cover his tracks, and how to make sure the truth never surfaced until he was ready to reveal it himself. And as we close this chapter, I want you to remember one thing: evil often wears a mask. Sometimes, it's the quietest people who harbor the darkest secrets, the ones who never raise a suspicion. The Green River Killer was one such man, someone who hid in plain sight, fooling everyone around him. And it's a story we will never forget. Thank you for listening, my friends. If you found this story as chilling and captivating as I did, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. There are many more twists and turns waiting for you. Stay tuned for more stories that will keep you up at night. Until next time, remember, inspiration never stops, and neither do the mysteries of the world.